James Franklin out as the head coach of Penn State, and man, I talked about it briefly yesterday, Adam, but to think where we were about 2.5 weeks ago, College game day was on their campus. They had the whiteout. They get off to a slow start, but they tie the game up. They take the lead in overtime, and you're thinking, all right, maybe this Penn State team's going to figure out a way to win this game. Obviously, they did not. They go out to UCLA, who apparently all they needed to do was fire Deshaun Foster to become a juggernaut. They lose there, and then you lose to Northwestern at home. So, man, it is quite the turn for Penn State when a lot of people, and I said this yesterday on the podcast, Adam, I wasn't anti-Penn State. I just didn't have any exposure on them. I didn't think there was any, air quotes, value on Penn State, but I certainly thought they would be a good team. I thought they'd make the playoff, but to be 3-3, the only team in FBS right now to not cover a game, 0-6 ATS, it was a pretty big move, but I feel like at some point you kind of had to go this direction with Penn State.
Yeah, look, we've kind of talked about this a lot, not only this season, but also in previous seasons here on the podcast where, James Franklin can't win big games, right? And that's what you need to do. When you're in the Big Ten, you've got like 3 games that you need to win, at least 2 out of the 3, something like that, especially now in the expanded college football playoff. Like you've got additional margin for error where you can just kind of piggyback off the strength of the conference as a whole. I said it at the time, when I was watching the game with Femi Abefe and Elliot Bowman, a couple of people who used to work for us here at VSiN, Franklin should have went for 2. When they scored that touchdown late in the fourth quarter, Oregon defense had been on the field for a while on that drive. Should have gone for 2. If you don't get it, at least people say, well, you know what? Franklin can't win big games, but at least he tried to win this one. Instead, you don't go for 2. Aller throws the horrible interception in double overtime, and then you wind up getting to the point that you're at. But the one saving grace, I think, for James Franklin for so long was that he's really good in the bully role. When they're supposed to win, they do win. Well, they were supposed to win the last 2 games, and they didn't win them. So at that point, you've got all the ammunition you need as long as the boosters are willing to pay the buyout and the donors and all of that. So it got to the point where it was just an untenable situation where, look, if we're not going to go 10-2 and beat the teams we're supposed to, then what are we doing here? So Penn State made a decision, and I completely agree with it. And honestly, if they didn't have Tyler Warren last year, this could have happened last offseason.
Should Tyler Warren retroactively win the Heisman Trophy? I think that's the question we all should be asking. Look, I said it preseason. I did a hit in, I don't know if it was in State College. It was a radio station in Pennsylvania, and it was one of the hosts, a very big Penn State fan. And I wasn't going at him. I just said, look, man, if not now, when? Like, this is the time. Everything is set up perfectly for Penn State here. So we'll see who steps in to that role next. I was laughing. I'm like, all right, here we go. Marcus Freeman going to be on the list for Penn State. My expectation is that Penn State's just going to call every single coach and agent and just say, hey, you want to come to Penn State? No. Okay. So my guess would be it's Matt Rhule. Humans made the pitch on primetime Monday night that Belichick would come out, or not Belichick, excuse me. Saban would come out of retirement for this job. I don't know who it's going to be. Logically, it says Matt Rhule would make a ton of sense, being that he's a Penn State alum and he's got ties to the AD, all of that. So I think there's a reason in far off lands, Adam, that Matt Rhule is the favorite to take this job. I don't know. And it's a good job, and you certainly can win here. And there's a lot of talent in the state of Pennsylvania, and the DMV has a good connection there to Penn State. So, Franklin did a very good job at Penn State, making them get to the level where they are. And they just want to go to that next level, and he couldn't get them there.
No, he really couldn't. And look, the athletic department spent a lot of money to try and get them to that point, right? Bringing in A.D. Kotelnicki. They gave Jim Knowles a gigantic amount of money to pull him away from Ohio State. Now, of course, it seems like Ohio State didn't want to pay Knowles what he was asking. So it was just an opportunity for Penn State to go ahead and get him. But he was a very, very expensive defensive coordinator hire. So they tried. They tried to do everything that they could to surround James Franklin with enough people to help him win these big games. And yeah, they won a couple of games in the playoff, but they had the best playoff path of anybody especially, in the early rounds of the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know about Matt Rhule, honestly. I mean, I know the guy's a good football coach, but like, he's a good football coach at maximizing a program that doesn't have top end talent. It's a very different type of gig to go into a Penn State where you do get top end talent. And like, it's not this scrappy team that in year 3, gets better, goes, 10-2 in some smaller conference, something like that. Like, this is a premier job in college football where you have mostly your pick of the litter in terms of recruits. I don't know how Matt Rhule would do there. I don't even know if he'll be the guy. You mentioned the connections. I mean, that obviously helps in college football. It's kind of nepotism sort of a thing in college football. I'm not sure people have noticed that before. But I don't know, man. I don't know that I would get excited about Matt Rhule just because I don't know if he can navigate what it takes to be a head coach at a premier program.
Yeah, it'll be a very intriguing hire and a process. And, you look at the jobs that are already open. It's the best one available, no doubt. But will Florida come open? It seems like that's probable, but it hasn't happened yet. Wisconsin more than likely will come open after they got embarrassed, but still think Penn State's a better job than Wisconsin, obviously. It'll be interesting how this carousel, last year's carousel, pretty quiet. Obviously Belichick was the big fish, so to speak. And now, we'll see how this ultimately plays out.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now, absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at zero cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.